Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to Gnyp Gnop. I am Greg Gnyp. I am the Gnyp, and he's the Gnop, Chris Yazinski. It's Friday. It's a time for another show.
It is.
Today, we're going to be talking today a little bit about music, some experiences we've had with music. We might even delve into a mind-blowing chopped episode, and we got to say thanks to GL Heritage and our friends at Hague Customs again for being awesome and supporting us. And you can get neat glasses like that made by Hague. Look at that. That's right. Coffee first, then Gnyp glass. And that's courtesy of Hague Customs, and they do amazing work. So go check them out.
Nice.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? We all know what the show's about. We talk, and, we're going to have guests in sometimes and just things like that. But here's I guess this is what I'm trying to figure out right now. And, a lot of people, the whole vaccination thing for COVID-19. And yesterday, grocery shopping. Right. First of all, how the hell did everything get so expensive all of a sudden? I said, not even 3 full bags over $100. And I didn't even buy anything really expensive except a little bit of cheese.
No booze.
I know that's a rarity that they even said that. No booze today? No, but so as I'm walking around, they kept making these announcements, and they're saying our pharmacy is now looking for people 60 to 64 if you'd like to get vaccinated for COVID-19.
Nice.
So, which I think is great. Now, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the vaccine and all the kind of stuff. I believe in science. I follow science.
Dr. Shiva.
Rub some talcum powder on your left nipple and you're fine. No, it's not going to stay, right? But here's what I was thinking was, right? I'm walking through the grocery store, nobody getting the vaccine. There's not one person sitting down while I was grocery shopping to get the vaccine. So I was thinking, in a situation like that, why don't they open it up, say, to the next level down? Hey, people 55 to 59, especially, hey, you fat guys, which I would have just been sprinting there quickly. I would have gone and got myself a vaccine yesterday. And I don't think so. That's my thing. Shouldn't we be getting more vaccines into the arms as quick as possible? And if somebody 60 to 64 isn't getting a vaccine that day, they don't want one, should we not maybe to take it to the next level down?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's all kinds of issues with that between provincial and municipal, and the provinces got one program going. The regional municipalities have another program going as well. And, everyone's going, well, if you're 65 or 66, then what? Or if you're 59, right? Do you just go up and lie about it? And
yeah, kind of like in the old days, when you were trying to get, into a bar illegally. Yes, this is my mustache. Sir, those are your fingers under your nose.
No.
and I figure with all the gray I have now, I can pass for pretty much anything from 55 to 75.
Totally geriatric. Yeah.
Oh, and with the way I walk sometimes after, going out for a walk with the dogs, I'm pretty much there. So, yeah. So if anybody knows the reason why they can't do that, or maybe some pharmacies are doing that, I don't know. I mean, I guess there must be some kind of provincial, or like you said, municipal guidelines that say
thou shall not
vaccinate unless they're for sure. And I understand rules are rules. You got to follow some rules. Now, speaking of following some rules,
something that we've never been very good at for all of our lives.
Exactly, but something that I believe that they don't follow rules at is the Grammys.
Okay. Don't get me going. Don't get me going.
Right.
Don't get me going.
Now, right.
What a worthless show.
Right. And I'm, you know what? Congratulations to Taylor Swift. Congratulations to, whoever won the awards. And I'm not bad-mouthing anybody from there.
Beyonce.
Here's what
Beyonce. It's like 2010 all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And right. But this was my issue with right after the Grammys, a little wine,
a little bit of Running Flat, Running Girl wine with
nice,
produced by P-Lano Wineries for some of our races.
That is very nice.
Yeah, it's a brand we developed a lot of years ago, and we just love it. The red's just awesome. I'm sorry, carry on. The talk of the Grammys is making me drink.
I like the way you just like busted into the booze already.
The Grammys.
Right. Well, so here was my situation though, right? So after the Grammys, Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram, it's all about music isn't as good today as it was 20 years ago.
Yep.
And that battle comes in, right? And which makes me always laugh because, well, when we were growing like younger in the 80s and the 90s, right? People who were growing up in the 70s and the 60s were saying that about our music.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's a generational thing, right? It's
right. And what I said to one guy is I said, no, there's a lot of really good, talented musicians nowadays.
Ooh, yeah.
Some of it I just don't understand because I'm no longer 25 years old and those issues aren't my issues anymore. Like if you write a love song about wishing your knees didn't hurt, I can understand that.
I have this argument probably once a month with somebody, who's stuck in.
Yeah, but you just like to fight.
I do. And they're stuck in like their Beach Boy mentality, right? The Beach Boys are the greatest band ever, and Eric Clapton's the greatest guitarist who ever lived, and blah, 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 blah. But all good points, all good opinions. But to say music is crap today is so wrong. I mean, when you look at what 21 Pilots is putting out, when you look at Halsey, and you look at all these great artists today, who are out there touring or going to be touring soon, coming back. And oh my gosh, the music is absolutely incredible today. You just got to open up your mind to it, and you got to find it. And you got to search what you like. But you know what? You keep buying, the New Order albums, keep buying all the stuff from the late 80s and 90s, because that's all great music. And you'll find that almost all the artists today give a bow to all of that as their influences that made them become musicians.
Well, and that's exactly it. And the thing is, for me, I said this on social media a couple of probably about a month and a half ago, and I said, honest to God, I have never in my life, and people are going to probably get angry at me for saying this.
They're angry at you anyway.
I have never listened to a whole Led Zeppelin album from beginning to end. And right. And people are like, oh my God, you have to do that. And it's the greatest thing in the world. And I'm like, I guess, but that was never for me. I was, for me, I was a Rolling Stones guy. So that was my rock from the 70s and stuff like that. I lost it when Mick Jagger sang with David Bowie, Dancing in the Streets.
Yeah, look, Bowie famously hated everything he did in the 80s. You have got a Bowie story. I've got a great Bowie story where my wife and I, back in, I think it was 97, he was on the Earthling tour. And what a wonderful album the Earthling album is. Such a great departure of what he did with like Blue Jean and Let's Dance and all the stuff that frankly he really hated, especially in 97. So he's out, he's doing 2 shows at the State Theater in downtown Detroit, which is now called
the Fillmore Detroit.
The Fillmore Detroit. Thank you very much. And we're literally standing at the bar, 125 feet away from David Bowie, 3.5 hour show playing songs, B-sides from the 70s that no one's heard since the 70s when they were released. What an amazing, amazing show.
Oh yeah. See, and I love it, right? And that's the thing. It's like, right. But somebody who grew up in the 80s and maybe discovered David Bowie in the 80s would listen to that next level and kind of go, I mean, there were a lot of people when he came out with I'm Afraid of Americans and stuff like that, they're like, well, what is that? Well, he's experimenting. That was his
Trent Reznor.
Touring with Trent Reznor and stuff like that. And that was one of my favorite concerts I ever went to was the Nine Inch Nails, David Bowie show at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And both bands equally as good in just completely different ways.
Correct. Yep.
And, was the music better back then? Well, here's a guy from the 70s showing that a guy from the 70s can make music in the 80s, the 90s, and I mean, he made great music up until his death.
I miss Bowie.
I do. he's one of there's very few musicians that will ever be like David Bowie.
You've met him.
I did. Well, very briefly. I mean, the only thing that I ever really got a chance to say to David Bowie again was that I like chicken. I was so panicked that I didn't want to be the guy that said, I love all your albums. I've seen you on tour, all that kind of stuff. So instead I went, I like chicken. But it goes to meeting some of your idols, right? Yeah. Sometimes you meet somebody and you're just like, please don't be a dork. Please don't be a dork. Please don't be a dork. Oh, I fell down the stairs.
Yeah.
Thanks. But going back to, the whole thing when people, I said, go into music, say today, some of the new stuff, not with your, just appreciate music for what it is. It's music and it's being made in in this era, like you were talking about 21 Pilots. I have to be honest, when they first came out, couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, here's another band, lots of tattoos, and they're kind of, pretending they're this. And then I started to listen to their music. And then all of a sudden I realized that, it would come on the radio and I would turn it up.
Yeah.
And then I started to know the words to the different songs. And then I started to go into their albums. And then I went, okay, I'm kind of a fan now.
Oh, yeah.
But I went in jaded because I'm like, all right, I knew guys like that playing down, at St. Andrews Hall, playing for $50 and a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon or something like that.
Yeah, or watered down vodka.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So, I guess when people say, oh, the music isn't as good today as it was, 20 years ago, I'm like, I got to be honest. Like, my sister and my brother-in-law turned me on to this one singer. Her name's Kay Flay. She's awesome. Like, I'm addicted to her. And the other one is, and this is the one that people kept kind of bad mouthing, was Billie Eilish.
Mm-hmm.
I love Billie Eilish. Sure. I love her music. I love who she is. And you know what? She's 18, 19 years old, doing something that Lord knows I can't do.
Yeah.
And is it as good as it was, is it as good as it was in 1992? I don't know. It's 2021.
Yeah, but you know what? 84, first off, 84 is probably the greatest year in musical history. And we can argue this all day long, but it was when we had so many horrible things going on in music, like John Denver, was still around, still charting. And then 84 was when you saw this great influx of great bands, Canadian bands. You saw great bands out of Europe, and the whole underground music scene started, which really got popular through college radio because there wasn't internet, but there was that limited broadcast that would be able to kind of share that through campuses, and then campus radio, and then for people of that age group were out buying imports. They were going to record stores. I mean, the hours we would spend in record stores going through reams and reams of albums, going, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Oh, do you have the new one? It's coming in Thursday. It's coming in on a plane, right? Because they're all imports. And really that was the joy, right? It was the joy of hunting for great new sounds and great new music and looking for it. Today, it's kind of like a push away, right? On multiple platforms, SoundCloud and everything else.
Well, I have a friend of mine who was trying to, he said, listen, my daughter is as much of a music fan now as you were at her age.
Okay.
And I said, well, here's my question for you. Does she collect albums or does she just collect the singles? Right. And he's like, well, right. And I said, talking about going to a record store, you would go and buy the record. You'd read the liner notes. You'd look at the pictures. You'd know who everybody was being thanked on the album, and you'd listen to side A, side B, and most of the time you'd end up loving a song that wasn't even the single. You'd be like, oh, right. And I said, so my favorite band of all time is the Smiths. I am a Smiths guy from day one. I've been a fan all my life. It doesn't waver, Today, I can still throw on a Smiths album, and I've heard it 1,000 times, and I'm like, ee. but I find a lot of people with Spotify and iTunes and things like that, they're like, this is my favorite song. And then 2 days later, they're like, oh, these are my new favorite singers. And I'm like, well, you're not really making favorites. You're kind of playing off the top.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Smiths, Billie Eilish got nominated for the song that hasn't been released yet in the Grammys. Was that the controversy?
I didn't actually follow it all because
from the James Bond movie that hasn't still come out, but was supposed to come out.
But the song had come out. Yeah, but the song is out because I know I had heard it already.
And one of our ultimate guests, Johnny Marr, is co-wrote the song.
See, there, I did not know that. Mm-hmm. I just learned something new today. Yeah. Gosh darn it, Johnny Marr though. Oh. He is one of the most charming guys I have ever interviewed in my entire life.
So now that Eddie Van Halen is dead, does Johnny Marr now go to #1 guitarist in the world?
No, you are going to have a lot of people now. Man,
alive guitarists.
I mean, he might be one of the #1 jangly guitar players.
But I don't know. Up there in the top 5, always.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, but when he played, when it was, what was it, Johnny Marr and the Healers? And I think they played at the Majestic, and I got a chance to go and do an interview with them after the show. And I said, it was the funniest thing because he went on stage, played a bunch of great music. They were on stage for an hour and 40 minutes, good show. After the interview, and I'm thinking he's going to give me 3 minutes, here, ask 4 questions, in, out, boom, gone. And he was so funny. He was like, well, come on the bus. Okay. I'm here with my sister. Well, bring her on the bus. Well, we won't take very much time. Would you guys like a tea?
Yeah.
He's like, I can get you a tea or maybe just some bottled water. And he was just so genuinely nice about he's like, listen, ask me anything you want, except. And then I went, right. I know. Right. I won't talk to you. No Morrissey. No questions about the Smiths. No. But he was awesome.
We don't talk about Morrissey.
Yeah.
He who shall be named nameless.
And that's the right. That's the thing. And it's like, but and I don't think there's never going to be an answer to what era had the best music, right? Because I'm still a fan of the Gregorian chants of the early 2000s.
You know what? The best music is the music that you grew up with. That's the best music. That's the short answer of it, and I'll tell you why. Because music is an emotion. Music is not a commodity that you can quantify. And our old friend Terry McBride from Network Records and Management, he does this great TED talk about music as an emotion, not a commodity. This is during the whole Napster thing a number of years ago. And there's a guy we should get on the show. If we can get him away from his yoga mat, we should get him over and maybe join us for a day and kind of talk about Coldplay and talk about managing Sarah McLachlan for 30 years and everything else. So.
Yeah, I think he's a very good man.
He's a great guy.
And one of the things we were talking about different bands and things like that, and I said and like you said the emotion of music and things like that, and I said I look at music a lot differently now, or I did because of my career in radio. I became a bigger fan of some musicians because of my experiences with them and what they brought to my life, and not just their music,
right?
But having a chance, I said one of my favorite things that ever happened to me in my entire life, right, is and I was always a George Clinton fan, P-Funk All-Stars, all that kind of stuff. So we're at Lollapalooza. Right, George Clinton is right. They were on the tour. My boss says, "Listen, we need somebody to go and do an interview with George Clinton."
Wow!
And everybody was kind of like, I'm like, all right, I'll go do it. They said, but you've got to go to him on the tour bus. So I get there. Tour bus is there. I knock on the door. This man opens the door, and it's a little bit like a Cheech and Chong movie already.
Sure.
There's already the smoke coming out of the thing while the door is just partially open. And I'm like, hey, I'm the guy from 89X. I'm here to do this interview, blah, blah, blah. They know the whole thing. Yeah, come on in. In we go. First of all, it's like I'm there. It's a smoker. And I have never seen more boxes of donuts lined up across the back end of one of those buses, the touring buses.
It must be a hell of a rider, eh?
And that was the thing. It's like we need 30 boxes of Dunkin' Donuts, and it was crazy. It was
no
the funniest
sprinkles,
thing.
no sprinkles.
I mean, so we do the interview. I came back, and my boss at the time, we're talking, and I said, "All right, boom, we're going to do this here. It's all taken care of." And he looks at me and he goes, "Why are your eyes red?" And I'm like, "You don't understand what I was just in."
Yeah. I can't even drive.
I'm like, I can't even stand. All I want are donuts. And I don't even eat donuts, but he had donuts, and now I want donuts. So
that must be a really, really strange rider when you look at it. I think the strangest rider I've ever seen was, I did some work with Bill Clinton back in 2010, 2008 to 2010. And his rider read like this: fresh fruit bowl to feed 10 people. So fresh fruit,
right?
Water, and Diet Coke.
That's it.
He's a Diet Coke-aholic. And that was after he had that heart stint put in back in 2010. And he's a vegan. He's famously a vegan. So, Diet Coke. He lives on Diet Coke.
That is absolutely crazy. You'd think somebody like, a former president would be like, would want something.
All the food groups represented?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, it's God, no, man.
I know, like Diet Coke.
That's funny. Bill Clinton is healthy. George Clinton, not so much.
There you go.
But all right. So speaking of food, though, okay,
yeah,
right. Talking about things like that. There's a new show coming out on Discovery Plus. Now, have you ever watched Chopped?
No, so I don't have cable or satellite.
Oh, okay.
I've never had access to that.
Okay, so Chopped is it's a cooking show, and
Okay.
it's a cooking competition. 4 people, 4 chefs, and they're given a basket with 4 ingredients, and then they have to make an appetizer. And then their next basket with 4 different ingredients, they have to use those and make a main meal, and then they have to make a dessert with another basket. Right? I love the show. I think there's something about the show for some reason. It's campy and it's silly, and it doesn't teach you anything about cooking because.
Do they all have the same 4 ingredients in the basket?
They all have, yeah. So they all have
okay.
to use the same 4 ingredients, right?
Okay.
Well, Discovery Plus is coming out with a new show, and it's basically called Chopped THC. So one ingredient in the basket is going to be basically an edible.
Oh God.
So in this competition, I'm thinking to myself, because I love to cook.
Mm-hmm. So do I.
Right? So I've kind of already figured out that I'm going to enter to be on the show. As long as I can make it to the final round, it's going to be like gummy worms, THC laden gummy worms, papaya, beef gravy, and chicken gizzards. As long as I have a bag of Doritos in the pantry, I can put everything together, because those judges are going to be high.
How do you make it past appetizer?
I'm just imagining a lot of people sitting there, like the judges sitting like this.
Going, turn up the George Clinton.
Yeah. Turn up the George Clinton. Are you kidding? Turn up could we just have some more reggae right now? It's all good. But yeah, so that's going to be the new show that's coming out on it's the THC Chopped on Discovery Plus, which I'm now totally intrigued with because I just want to see how they're going to do that. And it's kind of funny how the acceptance of the whole, gone are the days of, marijuana is going to send you to the devil. Instead, now it's becoming a TV show.
Is that filmed in Colorado or something?
I don't know. I don't know where it's going to be filmed yet. But so look for me on THC Chopped. I'd be good as just even one of the judges.
Do you get to bring a partner along?
Yeah, of course. Well, one of us has to figure out how to dial the
button.
Uber.
Push the button.
So. Well, listen, I would love to keep chatting with you, mister, but I've got 3 dogs that are, you can see the one dog in the corner there. That dog doesn't care, but I have 2 smaller dogs right now that are now starting to give me the daddy stink eye that says, hey, can you take us for a walk?
There you go. Well, until next week.
Yes, sir.
Until next week. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for joining us. You can join us on Facebook Live at noon on Fridays. You can also join us on our YouTube channel, Gnyp Gnop. And on audio, we're literally everywhere. We're on iTunes, Google, we're on
Spotify,
Amazon, Audible, Deezer,
Spotify.
It's everywhere. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Friday. Special thanks to our friends at GL Heritage and the awesome printers at Hag Customs. That's the love. Gnyp Gnop wearables and swag will be available coming next couple weeks with a portion of the proceeds going to charity. Have a good week, everybody.